So we go to the shows. And cool. All right, so we got to get going because we don't have a lot of time. Let me actually resend this link to Nick, and then we'll get started. Okay, let me send this to him now so that way he has it. And there we go. Perfect. All right, so got that all up and running, and I think I'm just going to have to throw some music on in the background here, so I apologize if it's stuff that you guys don't like, but I need stuff in the background so I can kind of get my day going. Okay, let's see what we got. We'll start off with some F1 music. Okay, let's check this out here. Okay, let's get to work. Okay, so last that I was doing this, I was able to get Daredevil done. I got Darkhawk done, Deadpool, but I also started working on Domino, Elektra, and Electro. Now I have another character that's supposed to go here, but I got to figure out who it was that I was going to do, or maybe I just messed up in my counts. But I'm going to double check and make sure and get going from there because I need to get all these things done so I can move on to the next stage. Okay. Again, if you need to know what's on the list, go on to my Instagram, go on to my you can go on Facebook, all that stuff. The videos are there and they have all of the stuff there. So you can pick out what you want and grab something. If not, just do me a favor, just share this stream. Share the channel. Because that's gonna just help move things a little bit better so people are aware of what it is that I am doing. Okay, again, we are working on Domino today to start things off, to get her colored up. Domino is one of the characters that was from X-Force. So back in the 90s, she was produced. And she's been a cool character ever since. If you're not familiar with her, you would have seen her in Deadpool 2. Sorry, I got to pull my reference so that way I know exactly the colors I'm going to use for her. Because she actually has like this like white skin to her. In the movie, they gave her she was more ethnic, so she was black, but she had the white patch on her eyes, so they kind of reversed it. I don't have a problem with that. I think stylistically it was cool for that movie. Sometimes I worry about like movies and their choices, but that one's not one I can really pick on. I have to reflect on a lot of that stuff and be like, okay, was that a good aesthetic choice that they made for it? Yeah, in most cases, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'll think about like the biggest one for me, and I can say this now after having some separation from it. So back in 2000, our first X-Men movie came out, and I was the first person. I was in this theater in Vero. I was like, "What the hell are they doing with Wolverine? His claws don't come out of his hands like that." Because at the time, this is when we were introduced to his claws coming out between his fingers. But the one thing that I didn't understand, because I'm a viewer, right? So I have my already preconceived designs in my head, what the character's supposed to look like, what they're supposed to do, right? And I'm like, that's my character. It's technically not mine, but the character that I have grown up with and whatnot. And I know what this character is supposed to look like, and then all of a sudden, you do this weird stylistic change that I don't understand. But then somebody had to point out, it's like, do you understand the practical application of being able to make the gloves? Let's take it back a notch, okay? If you take a look at the cards that were produced way back when, the first Marvel cards, okay, Marvel Series 1, there is a card in there that actually shows Wolverine's gloves. It doesn't show his adamantium that's attached to his bones. It just shows the gloves. So in that card, it just lets you know, hey, if you got these gloves, you have Wolverine's claws. So that means anybody can have the adamantium claws. So it kind of didn't make any sense. You got bones that are covered in adamantium, but you have gloves that just have the claws built into them. And that was just weird, right? So somebody up there in the production room was like, you know what? We got to make some sense of this. This has to make sense for the movie. We need to change this. And to their credit, it was a good change. I can't knock it. Now, like I said, being removed from it, I look at it, I'm like, that was a good move. I don't know if that would have worked, having him have claws in the top of his hands. I mean, they did it in the Deadpool movie. But I don't know if I would have liked it as much. I don't think the suits were set up well enough to do that. I don't think anybody had done that yet. So I think choice-wise, it was a good one. Plus, as you see him coming out, like there's multiple scenes in different movies where you just see the hand and you just see the claw slide out of his hand, and you're just like, wow, some stuff's about to go down. So it does make sense. All right. So again, I'm working on Domino here. Gonna get her done. The goal for me for moving forward when I'm doing these kind of things is I don't want to really go back to a card like this. I just want to get it colored or get it drawn, get it colored, and then move on to the next one. Because I have other cards that I have set up. For example, I've already come up with a concept for Falcon, and he's ready to go, but I can't draw him until I get these done, and I really want to. I'm gonna have to bounce back and forth. What's up, fanboy? I have to bounce back and forth to get all the rest of the cards colored up. So I will get those done. It's just going to take a little bit of time to do it. Okay, so let's get in here and get her colored really fast. She's not going to need a ton of colors because, again, her skin is white. So it makes things a little easier to do. So I really got to, worry about just minor stuff. So I don't have to worry about, her skin there and all that stuff. So I'm in good shape. I'm lucky and fortunate in that regard. All right. And this week I got to go open up my box because I have to pull out one of my clients' pieces of artwork that I haven't seen in months. And I say this because he ordered it back at Free Comic Book Day, but unfortunately, on my end, I misplaced his card for his order card, so he hasn't had it. I mean, I was always going to give it to him. That's why I held on to it. But I'm just got to make sure I get that to him ASAP. Get it to him before Christmas. That's the goal. So I'm going to drop it off to our local comic book store that, he and I frequent. So that way it's like a meeting ground. I would love to drop it off to him, but I don't know if we're going to be able to make that happen. That is definitely going to have to go in the garbage. Guys, just so you know, don't let this happen to your nibs. That is gross. So what I have to do is I got to buy a nib replacement and pull that nib out and replace it with a new one. So I can still use that marker. Just a rule of thumb: don't throw away your markers. Don't do that. That's bad, because then you're going to end up having to buy it. You could buy a new nib for less than $1. You buy a new marker for like $3 to $6, depending on where you go. So do the smart route: buy the nib, pull out the old one, replace it, and put the new one in there. And all you have to do is just refill the ink. Don't make your life harder than it needs to be. Please don't do that. Just some tips. I wish I'd known that prior, but I didn't understand how to do it until I started exposing myself to that a lot more. But yeah, definitely do yourself a favor. If your nibs start to get a little, like, the tips are almost like too spongy, that's when you want to go ahead and replace that. Like, you stop having that nice, tip there on there. You pull that guy out, and it's like got a hard piece of uh, foam on the back of it, and then you just pop the new one in there. Just use your hand and just put it right in there, pinch it, and pop it in, and then you're good to go. And you can just start doing your artwork again. But it's way cheaper doing it that way than buying new stuff. I'd rather, I could go to Amazon, or I could go to an art store and I could go buy those, and I'm back in business. Wish I had some here to show you. I don't have any on me right now. I think I gotta order some more. Okay, so I'm going in here, doing this. But realistically, that's you want to. The art game gets a little expensive, so if I can give you guys some helpful tips, to kind of save yourself some bucks, I'll give them to you. Because honestly, things are getting a little bit harder to do because expenses are getting higher and higher. So if we can, work together and just pass on some knowledge, that would be good. All right, she's looking really good. And then for her hair, I'm going to add this to the hair. And again, I don't want to hit her ear because she's got white skin. It's kind of unique to her look. So Domino, she's got the one eye patch that's black. That's the reason why she's called Domino, because of her white skin in the patch. Okay, that's her. And again, I'm just switching between my markers, just trying to get the feel for what she's going to look like. And I'll go back over with my pen to clean her up a little bit more. Oops. Okay. Very important to have all your tools available to you so you can do stuff like this. Hey, Nick. Welcome to the stream, man. Good to see you up here this morning. A little different than our traditional Tuesday mornings. Time for you to break out the artwork and start getting to work. There we go. It's looking good. I like it. All right, so where am I? Trying to find my 0.1. Oh, 0.1. Tour setup thing. What tour? Well, okay. Gotcha. They won't let you do a skip and all that stuff? Oh, okay, cool. So you should jump on this challenge, man. I mean, even if you're not doing all the characters, I mean, should take a look at the list and go for it. Or I should say lists. It's honestly inspired by like the Inktober thing. Well, this one's a little bit easier because you have specific characters that you have to do. And this one, I mean, you can pick whatever you want. I mean, if you want to do it, that's up to you. But um, I developed a list of 1,000 characters, so and there's 10 different categories. And especially for you, it would actually really work out because it'll give you a chance to touch on a bunch of different characters and help with like perspective and proportions and all that kind of good stuff. um, if you give me a sec, I will. I'll send you over. Because it's a big list. Um, let me send this over here. Actually, let me see if I can put it in the. Let's see if I can put it in the whatnot chat so that way everybody can see it. All right, so let's go here. Let me see if it'll do it. Will it let me put pictures in here? No. I will just have to send those to you. Is there a particular genre you like? You like Marvel, DC, any particular ones? Okay, that one's the Marvel one. Yeah, I gotta make that website page. So I'll have all these on there. It's supposed to be interactive, where it's updating on the regular. So I'm gonna give you the first two lists, which are DC and Marvel, and that way that'll give you enough to tinker with. So that's 200 characters in there that you can play with. So like these, like this guy, I'm like this girl. Well, there you go. You have a ton to pick through, and there's like obscure characters. I mean, like I did, like obviously you have to have Cable in there. This guy Cannonball, he's from X Force, so I more cater to him because he's somebody that I know of. You have Captain Britain, which I think I'm going to redo this one because I'm not really stoked on it. Captain Marvel, you got some Carnage, um, Cloak, Colossus, Cyclops. So you have a lot of ones to pick through that you get to do. So you pick it, and I would just try to do them small. Don't try to go like over the top. I mean, if you want to do bigger, go for it. But I wouldn't. I would say just kind of keep it easy for yourself. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna. Some of these cards I have where they're a little bit more full body. Um, do I have any? But with these, I'm kind of it's there's not a lot of space, so I have to kind of keep it small. So it is just pretty much torso area. I don't want to lose a lot of the definition, and it's hard to draw this small without like getting like some kind of magnifier. So I want to make sure I don't lose any of that quality. Let's see if I can find my pencil here. What's going on, Big Show? What's up, Layla? So you're like this one right here. This is Elektra. I don't draw her very often. And the goal for this, the bigger thing is that I'm challenging myself so that when I'm drawing characters that I don't typically draw, and since I don't get a lot of women requests, I really made a note to put more of them in my list. Thank you. Yeah, so since you're new here, so this particular set, I'm doing 1,000 cards with 10 different categories. So I got Marvel, I got DC, Image, doing Transformers, Pokemon, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm just getting through this particular list, and I'm almost to the halfway point. So I know that I've done about 47 cards, and within this set, I think I made it through. I think I've made it through like 30 something cards. I can't remember. The numbers are a lot. Um, because I've had orders for other cards, so I have to do those first. I don't want anybody not getting their products. So I've been focusing on that. But I do want to. You know what? I actually made these cards. I took comic book boards and I cut them down to the cards that I want. Now you can order them online, but I could take one comic book board and make six. Is it six? One, two, three. I know I can make four of these cards. So if you get a whole stack of the comic book boards, you got 400 cards right there for $10. The only thing is, you just got to cut them out. So you got to think smart. I mean, The problem is a lot of people don't want to, put in the effort to go ahead and do all that stuff. I don't care. I'm going to do it because one, I like. See, the cards are a lot beefier, so they're thicker. So a traditional card is way thinner than this, and it's got a little bit more flexibility to it. I wanted mine thick, and I found that it does absorb the marker a lot more, but I'm okay with that. The other part to having these is that you can't mistake what side of the card you're on. It's either going to be the glossy side, which you don't want to draw on. I mean, unless you're doing like ink, but you don't want to do markers and stuff. This way, you have another, you know, like traditional, piece of paper that you can really work on. And again, it's good for a keepsake. So, did anybody see the sneak preview trailer for Doomsday? Oh yeah, I definitely use the Bristol board. I use that for more of my bigger pieces. Surprisingly enough, cardstock will do the same kind of thing too. But here's the deal: when you're using that Bristol board, you got to be careful because you can really eat up your Bristol board and any type of paper, depending on how you draw. So you have to get really good control over your tools, especially when you're in the sketching process. And I teach this to anybody that's learning how to draw from me. So a lot of people draw like this, right? So you're really close up, which is fine because when you're drawing like this, it's intentional. Like you're trying to make sure that you're putting those marks in, solid with confidence. However, when you are sketching, you are super duper loose. So you want to be back like this, like you want to be on it like you're using it like a brush. Okay. Even when you're painting, when you want to get those details and be intentional, you're going to come up here. So that way you have more control over the tip. When you're doing the sketch, you want to be loose. So again, when you're creating those pieces on those Bristol boards, make sure it's super loose until you're ready to go ahead and, throw down. Yeah, technique is one of those things that you have to learn. I mean, I fought it so hard, and I will never forget. I actually walked out of a guy's class because I was, I think I was in my 20s, and when you're in your 20s and you're still trying to learn, you're very hard headed. So you believe if you've done something for so long that you're right, and the person that's trying to teach you is wrong, even if they've been doing it for 30 years. You're very, very hard headed, very, very stubborn. However, I look back now in that class, and it actually was it's the same thing somebody taught me, like what I'm teaching you right now. I learned back in I think it was my sophomore year of student teaching, the student teaching courses over at FAU. That guy taught me that, and I just did not want to hear it. But he did. He was trying to get me to loosen up so that way I didn't do the pitfalls that I'm trying to teach other people how to do. What's going on, collectibles? Um, so that's why it's so important to listen to people, especially people that have been doing it longer than you. If they are doing things that you like, why would you not listen to them? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if I know like Todd McFarlane has had a very successful career doing what he's doing and using certain tools that he uses, Why would I not consider utilizing those tools? So I just I just tell people that you really gotta try something before you say no, because it's hard to say no to something that you don't know about. It's not going to hurt you, right? Yeah, yeah. People just don't. I mean, I don't believe people want to do technique anymore. They don't want to learn fundamentals anymore. That's what I've kind of gathered that over the last uh, few years. And partially it's at fault for the people that are using. I mean, people that are that are growing up now. And the other part is that our cell phones, our social media has kind of pushed us into that realm. We want instant gratification. It's weird how the psychological stuff can be put in place and it has long-term effects. I tell people this all the time because systems are put in place to gain I wouldn't even say trust, gain your following. You know that these companies are so smart. They have people that are in realms that are fascinating. And the sad part is, this is the part that people don't even think about. All right, so as we as we get more reliant on this stuff, and these companies know this, so as we become more reliant on it, they integrate these things into these systems, and eventually those systems are going to take over for regular labor. Could you just imagine a world where we don't have artwork that is, made by a human? That's It's kind of scary, but it's if people keep doing what they're doing, that's what we're going to get. I think I think everything has its purpose. I will never knock growth in technology, right? But when it becomes the norm, I have a problem with that. I was talking to some kids yesterday about it. I said, "Could you survive if your phone died?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "No, you guys wouldn't. You'd be done. You can barely survive without your phone for 10 minutes. How are you going to do it, if it just dies altogether?" And I mean, you have no access to anything else, no technology. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, sci-fi is almost coming to life, and people are not even realizing it. It is so sad. I'm not saying that we're going to have self-aware systems, but the problem is that you're going to create technology that's smarter than you, and it's going to do its own thing eventually. It's going to be like, this doesn't compute, like this doesn't work. I mean, I think of it more like, you ever seen that movie with Will Smith, I Robot? Something more like that, like where the computer sees, like, the programming says this, and it sees the problem and it's correcting it, self-correcting itself. Or the thing is that it makes us so reliable on these things, so that way we end up having to pay more to get the things that we like, the services that we like. So again, you're giving power to other people. And why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. You know, I like the fact that, like I said about the and you were in class, you might have been in class when I was saying this. So I like the fact that I can have tangible things. I've tried it. Like they talk about having comic books online because people don't like to, have tons and tons of books. But there's something about having that physical medium at your disposal, and you can just go there, and you're not having to subscribe. You bought it once and you can just roll with it. Like if I needed to reference something, I don't need to always go to Google to do it. I have stuff I can physically go through. And the cool part is that because I know my books well, I can go to the specific book, even if there's like 100 of them. I can go to that specific book, specific page, and pull that reference out. Um, I don't get where we just don't want to grow. We don't want to learn our fundamentals. Like this right here, like being able to draw this kind of stuff is cool to me because I feel it's valuable. And other people don't. I mean, some people are just like, that's cool. But here's the thing: there's gonna come a time when there's only gonna be a certain set of people that have these skills. It's going to happen because we're letting it happen. I'm not going to be part of that crowd. I want to be able to teach my craft. Sorry about the noise. I apologize. Um, I want to be able to teach my craft. My goal is to always pass on my knowledge to other people. And the reason for that is that if I'm able to pass it on, that those skills don't get lost. So many people are protected about passing on knowledge. Okay. So if we keep on that path, we're never going to have any growth. I understand that there should be things that are a secret, right? So we're never going to find out the formula for Coca-Cola because that's just one of those things. However, being able to know how to change a tire, knowing how to draw, how to create music, how to write, all of these things are very important, not just as basic living knowledge, but it's also good for growth and for health. I mean, I can't tell you how many people are happier when they're creating things. And I'm not saying just art. Like I have plenty of friends that literally went out, bought wood carving equipment, that went out and got instruments. They play pickleball, they do all these kind of good things, and they do it because it allows them to relax. It allows them to breathe. Um, I couldn't imagine a world where I couldn't do art. I really couldn't because I love it so much. I think the craft is cool and it can be used in a multitude of arenas. Hey Tiffany, how you doing? Um, yeah, I never would have like I thought once I failed as getting into comics, right? I still have my rejection letter to this day. So I applied to Image Comics, and this is back when they were first, getting started and getting hot. And I sent out my stuff. I think I was like 15 or 16, but I didn't understand how comics worked. What's up, Jay? I didn't understand how to make a good sequential story. And I had to learn that stuff. And they said they were positive about it. They're like, good drawing. You just have to work on your fundamentals. And I did, because in order to make a good comic story, I had to know how to tell a story visually. And what does that mean? You're telling the story without any music, without any picture, or without any word bubbles. Go. That's what they wanted you to be able to do. And that's a hard thing to accomplish if you don't know how to do it. And we have more services available to us now that can help us know what we're doing. That's the benefit. We have Google. When I was in high school, Google was not the thing. We had bulletin board systems, which were basically like our Google, but we did not have Google. And we had to, look these things up. Yeah, that I mean, that's the best part about, that stuff. And the art of storytelling isn't just in our comics. I mean, we utilize that, in basically being able to tell a story to a person. We have to be able to articulate ourselves. In design, you have to defend your choices. If you can't tell the story, like give some context, it's kind of hard for people to bring it in. There we go. It's looking good. So it's very important to do that. I'm just not a person that feels like being lazy is something that we need to adhere to. If you're lazy, I'm going to help you. Not, I'm going to teach you how to not be lazy. But at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that's going to have to make that choice. But please do not try to poo-poo on other people's stuff because you're not getting what you want out of it. I mean, I made this analogy the other day, I was very blunt about it, but I said, listen, there's a reason why people stay fat, right? Not all, not I said, but a majority of us that really are heavy, and I'm in that crowd, is because we put more time into eating things that are convenient, and that's where our what we're putting our stuff into, right? However, if I was to put energy into, you know, eating differently, preparing food more, making more efforts to prepare my food, to put time into that, guess what? Things are going to change in a different direction. And the same thing is when we're, creating, there's a reason why people are better developers than others, is because they put time in, they put in effort, they think about how I can make a connection between my work and the people that are viewing it. Like when I'm creating these pieces, I'm very critical in the fact of I don't want things to be stagnant. So how do I do that? Okay, well, I might create something and I'll be like, that doesn't look good. I'm gonna have to change that. You look at reference, because we have tons of it available to us. Why shouldn't we look at it, right? So I'll look at things like John Wick. I will look at um, martial arts movies. I will watch dramatic movies. I will read different dramatic books and stuff of that nature, just to kind of get a feel of what I'm looking for. You got to create the energy that you want to convey. And that takes time to learn how to do that, because you don't want everything looking the same. I right now I'm in the process of writing my book, my graphic novel. Now I got the first one done. Like as far as like I have all of the text, all the script, the story is written. I just have to draw it. But the thing is that there's several different characters. So I had to go through, get a list of all of the characters, write out their traits. I had to draw each character and basically create this individual, like a series of different individuals. And each one of them had to be different because everybody not only is different in age, but, they're different positions in the family because it's a family based story. So if you have somebody that is 6 versus somebody that is 18, the way that they'll tackle a problem is different. And you have to know how to, you know, look at that and analyze it and then be able to convey that onto a piece of paper. And that takes time. You really have to put the time in to learn how to do that, to learn how to look at people, do research. Anybody can draw a cool picture, right? Um, I learned this from I think it was Jim Lee. They're like anybody can draw a splash page. And a splash page, as we know, is just a singular page that has action on it. It makes a splash. That's why they call it a splash page, right? So when we create those splash pages, they're there for a specific reason. But if you do a bunch of those, that whole trend gets boring after a while. So you have to develop stuff that can tell a story because you have to have this thing called pacing, and it has to ebb and flow. So if you think of it like this, I mean, you're on a plane, right? Or beats, yeah, highs and lows and beats. If you're on a plane and your plane is always going up, you don't have a time to like settle down. When they blast off in a rocket, it goes all the way up, hits the atmosphere, and then slows down. So it gives you a chance to just like exhale, right? And the same thing needs to be done when you're creating a story. You have to have those up and downs, like a roller coaster, because that's what creates that feel. But again, it all goes back to being able to storytell, and that also goes back to learning fundamentals. I'm getting ready to teach a course here in the spring where I'm going to get to walk people through all of this, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a dope class because they're going to have to create their own story. Yeah, I'm doing it over there at the college. Absolutely. Yeah, it was a class that was given to me last week actually. They approached me about it. I got an email about it actually back at early December, and I just missed the email. But my dean reached out to me on Friday, and he was like, "You want to do this?" No, it's not actually not a new course. It's I'll tell you the actual course it's called because I just dropped it in my Canvas to set up. That course is called. Is this it? No, that's not it. That's my dev course. It's called Visual Story Development. That's what it's called. What's up, Professor Cards? Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take it a little different route because I think my background caters to this a little bit differently than everybody else's. So I'm going to be teaching it way differently. Nobody's ever going to come to my class I made this a rule for myself. Nobody's ever going to come to my class and not learn something unless they just don't put in any effort. You're definitely going to walk out of there with some good deep rooted knowledge. Oh man, I completely missed that part of our run. Cool. Yeah, I just look. The cool part about my background, you have to have people that are interested in specific things, and then they are able to parlay it into other things. So, um, I will say this: Sean is definitely one of those instructors that has that skill, but he comes at it from a different direction. He's still really good on the fundamentals, but he doesn't really like push his illustrative background like he has. Like he's very technical on his teaching, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But if you ever get a chance to sit down and talk to him, you'll find out that dude has got a lot of skill. Like it's scary how good he is. I mean, he taught me things that I really definitely needed to learn. I'd done sculpture and stuff like that, but he taught me how to do sculpture in a way that actually made it a lot better. Like my sculpting skills are way better due to him because he pushed me, and I'm extremely competitive. So for me, I got to meet him at a time when I really wanted to stretch my legs. But yeah, having somebody that has a background in comics and knows this field, they can definitely teach you how to story tell in a better fashion. Oh man, I'm gonna make that black. Yeah, and the thing is that I want to teach people how to utilize these tools to push their skills to another level. Like I really want to integrate having drawing tablets because I want to teach people how to utilize these tools so that way when they take them home, when they get their own, they're able to do it and they don't struggle. I mean, I want to open up the world where we can do animation at the college. That's my biggest goal. I would love to have a bunch of animators there and us compete nationally. We have so many talented people at that school, and we just let them go off to other campuses. I'm like, why are we not honing this talent while we got them? No, it's not technically an animation program. It's more of a they do 3D like gaming. It's not technically an animation class. You do learn how to animate characters and stuff like that. You learn how to build environments, but it's not an animation program. Like I want to teach people how to, do like 2D in addition to 3D. We rely too heavily on that one thing. And again, people get stuck. That's funny. Yeah, I feel like people rely too heavily on that. And I'll be honest, there's something different about, yeah, there is a 2D class that he teaches, yes. But I'm talking like more of them. Like a curriculum that's built on it, not just one course. That's what I would like to see. I want us to compete. That's the thing. I mean, I saw some super talented people just this semester because I had more students to work with this semester than I've had in the past. And also during, because it's daytime, you get to see more of those folks. And just the talent pool that was in there from where people started to where they ended, huge difference. She looks way better now. I think I'm going to go in there with color pencil. Sorry, I got to find this pencil real quick, and then I'll finish up this piece. Yeah, Indian River State's got a lot of talented people. I just don't want to see them. I don't want to see the area lose them unless they're going off to do bigger and better things. That's what I want to see for them. She has done so. Trust me, I don't want people to stay just in Florida, right, or in Fort Pierce. I mean, I would love to see this area grow with art, with people that do art and illustration. I mean, we have a lot of talented people in this area. Like, there's a lot of celebrities that people don't know about, and if we were able to get them to, they don't even have to show up, but if they can just kind of have their influence to help push the artistic medium, not just this kind, but all arts, music, singing, video, all that stuff, it would be just super helpful. Yeah, definitely. They can use their talents for more than just being able to act and all that stuff. They can, help bring things here. Could you imagine if Fort Pierce ended up getting like an influx of like $20 million to that college? Can you imagine what $20 million could do to this area? Um, I can tell you this: we have, I say more than Vero than Fort Pierce, but the I know Sylvester Stallone's got a house over there in Vero. Um, Gloria Estefan's got her house there. Um, There are a couple of athletes. I can't remember which ones are out there. We have John Walsh. But he's more of a uh, America's Most Wanted kind of thing. So he's a little different. Who else is who else comes around here? I know Morgan Freeman comes around this area. Um, trying to remember the singer. There's a country singer that he's actually from this area. Um, if I'm not mistaken, he was just visiting our area. I can't remember what specifically he was doing. It was actually one of my buddies that ran into him. But I'm just saying, those kind of people come around in these areas, and if we could just get their ear for just a minute, not saying that they have to invest or anything like that, but trying to grow smaller areas. Not just the ones that everybody knows. And hell, you don't even need to have just actors and actresses. If we just get businesses to get on the same page, I mean, these businesses that are very successful, that have the funds to be able to dispense out to other companies to help out, instead of going to AI. Like, it frustrates me that there's folks out there that are really pushing for, like, there's an AI farm that they're trying to produce. Hold on, hold on, let me check my list here. Like, they're trying to produce AI farms in St. Lucie County, and I think that's nice and everything, but it's not good for the environment. It's not good for us as a general. So if we're putting money into the people versus into technology, I think that's the better route to take. Because at the end of the day, would you rather have a whole bunch of homeless people, or do you want to have people that are flourishing? Oh, that was supposed to be Echo. Okay, so I got to get her done. That's who's supposed to be there. Gotcha. No, I didn't do her yet because I'm still trying to figure her out. Okay, so those are looking really good. I think I have enough time to do one more, so we're going to knock that out. Yeah, well, I mean, how much power can you really have, right? When is enough? When is enough enough? That's the question that has to really be, put out there. When is enough enough? Like, how much money do you really need to survive? Oh, I need it all. Well, what does all look like? I get it. I mean, I understand. It's an addiction. But at some point, somebody has got to sit down and be like, "Hey, look, you need to stop. This is getting a little retarded." And I hate to use that term, but I should say ridiculous. You are being too much. You shut this down. But again, my goal is to make that happen, but it's going to take some time. Like, I have to build more relationships, and the thing that I'm hoping with me moving into this college, hopefully in the next year, as far as a full-time professor, is that I will be able to have those avenues opened up to me, that I can start doing what I do and building those connections with people. Look, I want to see it. I like seeing people succeed. I don't like seeing people, flop on their face. That's why I work so hard to teach people the right way to do things. And ultimately, like everybody, and even including myself, we're all going to go through that phase where we hear the right stuff, but we just don't want to acknowledge it because we're just not ready for that information yet. And that's okay. Learning is part of the journey. So Nick, the thing that I would tell you, like, since you're like in this new, like you're getting back into this art stuff, I would tell you jump on here a lot more often. There's a lot of people that are really helpful, informative. It is a very different community than I thought it would be. I thought this was more of a arena where you would sell a lot of things, but when it comes to the art side, even people that are doing jewelry, I've seen people on here. I think I saw somebody do Legos on it one time. But all these different people bring something different to this landscape. And for you, I would say you want to follow the art community because they're very helpful. They're not jerks that I've seen. I've learned a lot from them. Even if they're not talking, I learn a lot from just watching their process. And I would recommend this. This is my challenge to you because I know it would be good for you. Is that you yourself get on here and just draw. I feel like it's a different arena to do that than going on YouTube. This is more organic. So as you start doing it more, not only are you archiving your work, which is spectacular, okay, so you can go back and reflect on it, but also you start, you know, meeting people that you typically would not meet in a regular setting. Like I've had an opportunity. I met some people from Michigan. I've had people from Canada, um, all over that I've had a chance to meet, and we just talk and get information back and forth. And from time to time, there might be a sale in there. But again, my goal on this it was not ever to do sales. Right, my goal was to get on here, give myself an opportunity to draw. And the cool part is you might meet somebody on here and they might give you a couple helpers, a couple tips as you're doing it because they don't want you to go down the pitfalls that they've had. So that's why I say this is a good arena to play in. I don't feel like it's been toxic at all. Like I don't think I've ever had a night where people have been just like complete jerks. It's been completely the opposite. People have been just very, for lack of a better word, warm. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that with graphite. And I think it'd be good for you because that way, there's something to be said about having the pressure on, right? I love being able to do commissions like live because the pressure's on. Like you have to do the work. Like you don't have a choice. You got to knock it out. Um, so that's the good part about that. Like the challenge is hard. You have to be on. So I would definitely push you to do something like this. And you never know. Like I met a lady on here. She actually does artwork with scripture. So what she'll do is she'll get a verse and she will base her art around that verse and integrate the verse into the artwork. Which I was like, that's kind of mind blowing, but okay, that's cool. Yeah, so I would, just jump on here, and you don't have to worry about, you know, people seeing your face unless you want them to see your face. But for the most part, you're just showing your work because it all depends on what kind of camera setup you got. I haven't sat down here and done the work to put my face up on here, but as of right now, that's not like the most important thing. The most important thing is the art. So that's what I'm focusing it on. And it seems kind of freaky. Like your first show, if you ever do one, your first show is going to be like your weirdest show. You'd be like, man, I didn't get no audience. Like nobody was on here. But you'd be surprised like how many times that you'll sit there and without the camera being on or the video rolling, how many times you actually really do talk to yourself. And it's okay. But then when you're talking to yourself, you'll have somebody pop in and they'll be like, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. And then you guys just get rapping together. I mean, I met a lady. She's a tattoo artist, a painter, and she was just walking her dog, and she just happened to jump on my stream. We just chatted for a little while. But again, once I met that person online, I was like, I'm going to check out your stream, see what you do, and the thing that I saw her doing on like the pieces that I saw in her inventory, when you see her do it live, it's like, wow, that is some dope stuff. Like you got some killer ideas. I could possibly, utilize some of these ideas in the work that I do. I'm not stealing your stuff, but as far as like the concepts that you have, like I told her, the line work that she did was super clean. And then I come to find out she's a tattoo artist. I mean, it's amazing. And yes, it is a springboard. 100%. But again, this is one of those things where you're building a community of like you're building into a community that's there and established. And once you get going, it's really neat. If you look at it from a long term standpoint, even if people are not purchasing stuff from you, you can still get a following of people and they can share your work to other people that might be interested in the work that you're doing. Again, I told you back in my class, I said it's all about creating connection. How you doing? Um, so if you're able to create that connection, you're in good shape. For a long time, I did not want to do this because I was nervous to get online. But at the same time, I had already done this kind of stuff. During COVID, I was like online every day because I was doing Inktober and all that stuff. So I would stream my stuff live. That was fun. And then when what was it? When Free Comic Book Day came up, I couldn't go to my store because they canceled it for obvious reasons. Not that they wanted to, but they canceled it. So I had to um, I had to pivot. So the pivot was I went online and I did a YouTube. And I think I created Afro Samurai for that one. For go-to store for what? All right, so I have two stores that I go to that I frequent. I would definitely recommend if you're in the Port St. Lucie area, you go to a place called Berserk Comics. That place is on US 1, just south of the bowling alley on US 1. It's literally the plaza right after. But my buddy John works over there. He used to work for a comic book company called Collectors Comics, but they closed, and then he opened up Berserk Comics, and that place is great. Um, I wish it was a bigger store. Again, it'll get to the point where it needs to be there. However, my go-to guys that I always do is Famous Faces and Funnies. Well, John is dope. I will definitely say that. John is really great. His staff is very knowledgeable. He's got the old school comic book feel that I do like. So I'm good with that. But Famous Faces and Funnies is definitely the one that I go to. And that one's up in Melbourne. Um, that store is ridiculous. It's a chef's kiss for people like myself because I've watched that store grow from nothing into where it is right now. Like it was small. It was so small. They were inside of a cell phone store when I first started going to them. Like that's the size of shop that they had, that Rick had. And now he's got a mattress warehouse that he converted into a comic book shop. So if you're ever in Melbourne, go to that shop. You will not be disappointed. Like that shop is insane. And then the counterpart to that is that if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, um, they have a comic book shop. It's called Tate's Comics. So Tate's is very deceiving. When you go to it, it's got three big windows that are in the front, and each one of them has a mask, like a bit. It's not a Hanya mask, but more like just a facial mask. But they're huge. So when you go in, you think that that's the store. No, that's just the front where the collectibles are. So they have collectibles all up in the front, and then as you're going to the back, you run into a full size Iron Man costume, and then you go a little further, and then you run into a full size Hulk, and then after that you get to the comics, and the comic selection is massive, super organized. Their staff is unbelievable. Not just in the way that they know their comics and stuff like that, but they are very personable, very knowledgeable. It's a great shop to go to. Um, on top of that, they actually have like an art gallery as well. So if you go upstairs at the front of the store, they have an art gallery, and you go in there, you buy art, and I think they also allow people to sell their art there too. I don't know how that specifics works, but that I do know that they have there. But those are the three main shops. I wish I would go to Big Dog, but I don't go there anymore. The one thing I used to like about Big Dog before it was called Big Dog is that it's got a lot of stuff in it. That's the best way to say it. At least the last time that I was there, it's just too much stuff, and it really needs to be organized in a different fashion The other part that even though Joel's got a very large selection, I mean, it's stuff that I never thought I would get. The one thing that I wish that it had was more lighting because it's very dark in there. But that's it. I mean, I Joel, as far as a person, I've always liked him. He taught me some really cool things. I just think that that store is way too big, and there's not enough staff for it. I wish his store would go from where it is. I wish Big Dogs he would close that storefront and move it over to his Thunderdome because the Thunderdome area is huge. I mean, it's about the same size as his other one, but it's got space and it's got lighting. Oh, really? I did not know that. That's funny. That is hilarious. I'm very surprised by that one. I didn't even know that. He's the one that taught me to put my art in a mirror. So if you ever draw something and you want to make sure that your proportions are correct, he's like, put it up against the mirror. Like if you have any questions about it, put it up against the mirror and you'll know. What's up, Kay? How you doing? Yeah, I would draw this frog guy, and I would draw it. He's like, yeah, that's off, and I wouldn't believe him. Again, this is that naive, stupid kid thing going on. And I'd be like, you're wrong. He's like, no, it's off. It's really off. He said, do yourself a favor, put it in a mirror. Yeah, that's another option too. But I would use thick pieces of paper, and I just wouldn't catch that. But I also thought it was kind of cool to put it up against the mirror and you'd be like, oh, wow, that's really bad. You'd learn a hard lesson, get humbled real fast. Yeah, I mean, it's these are just those little things that Joel was really good at making sure that he helped me out a lot. I mean, he would teach me drawing lessons and all that kind of good stuff. And that's the part I miss about Joel. Like I have great conversation with with the guys over at Berserk. Only one of them that I know of, he's an artist. Um, but Joel's a lot more rounded when it comes to that stuff. I just feel like ever since he went to the bigger store, there's something about it that I miss. There's something if you don't do a big store right, it's weird. Like the feel of it is not right. So I think the fact that Joel has such a big store and he doesn't have the employees to back that store up, I think that might be the reason why I'm just like there's something off there. Oh, really? I'm kind of surprised by that. He's really pretty cool. Yeah, John over there at Berserk is usually a really cool guy. Yeah, that's the owner. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised by that. He's pretty cool guy. So I find that a little shocking, but everybody has their days, right? I'll just kind of make this lighting pop out a little bit more. Create a little contrast here. Oh, okay. Well, I'm like I said, I'm really surprised by that. He's typically a conversationalist. Catch him on a Wednesday. Those are I found that are like his best days. Maybe. The only reason I say that is because like when I run into him, and I go by his shop not as frequent as I used to, but when I did go by his shop a lot, I would be in there accidentally for like an hour, just shooting the crap with him. Hold on, the guy that you saw, because there's a couple guys with glasses. Was he a skinnier guy? Okay, all right, yeah, that's John. Because there's another guy, his name's Chris, and he wears glasses. I know he works Saturdays, so I was just curious. Well, there's two guys named Chris. I got the other guy, Chris, left. Any particular shops you like to go to? Yeah, that's much better. Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to cut off early today. Oh, you went to Collectors. Man, that was a long time ago. Yeah, actually, that guy, Keith, he's the one that gave me my first shot at doing a free comic book day. Yeah, he was seriously instrumental in my life. Like I have a very soft place in my heart for him. Yeah, he definitely was a really cool guy to know. Before his health started, fading, he was a phenomenal guy. I think between his health and his dad's health, that was really that really hurt his business. And I left. I couldn't go to that store anymore, not because of him, because I thought he was still great. I just didn't want to watch him just deteriorate like that. It was so hard to watch. Yeah, strangely enough, and this is a weird but story, but when my dad passed away, I'll never forget this. I went directly to his shop. I didn't even go home. I went straight to his shop. Like the day that it happened, they took my dad off his bed, took his body, all that stuff, and I drove all the way from my house. I lived in Fort Pierce at the time. I drove from Vero, where he was, to Keith's store in Port St. Lucie because Keith was cool. Keith was just somebody that you could really sit down and have a nice conversation with. Ended up buying some comics and then hauled tail out. There we go. Yeah, unfortunately, the video does not give this thing enough justice. I wish it did, but that's okay. I'm not mad about that. These things look way better in color. All right, Electro is done. I think I'm gonna start taking pictures and posting these up online. Like as far as like my website, because they look way, 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 way better in color. All right. Well, Nick, I hope you have yourself a good rest of the day. I gotta actually cut off a little early here because I have a Zoom call I gotta go do. But I will be back up here on Thursday, so if you want to jump on, you're more than welcome to. I think I'm going to be on here. I think either 8 or 9 on Thursday. So you take care. If I don't catch you before then, I hope you have a very good Christmas.